All right, everyone, today we're going to be talking about consumer awareness and how the marketing is powerful, which means that you have already seen thousands of marketing things thrown at you just from the age you are now. They're saying that by the time you get to die to your age where you're going to die, that you'll already have seen over 1 million commercials in your life, probably more than that, because all of these people out there selling stuff want your money and they want you to give it to them. So marketing is a very powerful there. So our vocabulary for this particular lesson is going to be first, opportunity cost. It refers to the financial opportunity that is given up because you chose to do something else with your money. So if I decide to go to McDonald's for lunch today, my opportunity cost is that I'm giving up cash that I would have maybe used for something else. A significant purpose is the amount of money you could spend, usually over $300. It causes some pain to part with. Uh, this might be a new television set or a new stereo system or something new in your home. But yes, it's normally harder to part with something over $300. Branding is the promotion of a product or service by identifying it with distinct characteristics, usually associated with public perception, quality, or effectiveness. I think of commercials like Nike, Just Do It, and places like that when I think of branding. Marketing is the process of communicating the value of a product or service to customers. This is always what people are going to want you to think, is that their product is more valuable than the other person's product. Buyer's remorse is that feeling of regret or concern after making that large purchase. So you go out, you buy that brand new car, and you realize the next day when you wake up that, oh, that might not have been such a good idea. Financing is to buy an item with credit and paying over time. We've talked about that a lot. Caveat emptor is the Latin phrase for buyer beware, and then brand recognition and awareness refers to the public's ability to recall and recognize a brand by its logo, jingles, or packaging. Marketing in the 21st century. So see which of these things you agree or disagree with. 75% of all 90 days same as cash purchases are not paid in 90 days and convert to payments. The cost of a 30-second Super Bowl advertisement for the 2020 Super Bowl cost more than $5 million. The average American was exposed to almost 560 advertisements in 1971. Today it's closer to 3,000. A Harvard University study found that every hour of television you watch each week, your yearly spending increases by an average of $200. And then finally, the fashion category account for 40% of teen spending. So which of those do you agree with and which of them do you disagree with? Buyer, we're going to look at. So I'm going to have a financial piece, and you're going to have to develop a resistance to marketing, which is so true. So caveat emptor, which we just talked about in our vocabulary, means buyer beware. And when we talk about buyer beware, we're not talking about that you can't have a good time with money. Remember, we want to live like no one else so that later we can live like no one else, so that you can live like no one else. We want to sacrifice to win, and then when we want to enjoy the winning, there's nothing wrong with buying a good product. A good salesman has a servant's heart, knows how to sell, and is professional, and all of which can make the whole process pretty fun. A bad salesman, on the flip side of that, can make the process very miserable and can cause you to not have such a good time. So try to seek out people that you're going to buy from that are really good at what they do. Companies use every angle to aggressively compete for our money, and that's on television, on the internet, on anything they possibly can. Companies are not sophisticated or aggressive in marketing or do not have a marketing budget, generally do not stay open. And competition is fierce for every consumer dollar. And so that is why you, as teens especially, are marketed to more aggressively, because they know that if they can get you sold into buying their product early in life, then you will stay a faithful customer for probably many, many, many years to come. Moving on, so there are 4 marketing tactics that most companies will use, and you need to be aware of these so that you will be looking for them and will know, oh, I don't really probably need to buy this. This is just a technique they're using on me, and and I just need to stay away. So when you're aware of these techniques, you are more wise as consumers. And so here are the 4 strategies. The first one is of the techniques is personal selling. People who know how to sell spend thousands of dollars in sitting in classrooms learning how to talk to you and serve you so they can assist you in making these decisions to buy their stuff. This could be at a car lot. This could be in the middle of Best Buy because they know how to sell those TVs to you at Best Buy, that is for sure, or computers. And usually you'll walk in wanting one particular thing, and by the time you leave, you're in debt and buying something even better. So keep that in mind, that there are people who are literally taught in classrooms how to be salespeople. The second technique is financing. They use money and easy payments as marketing tools, and we've already talked about this. How they want you to only pay attention to the down payment, which usually isn't going to be much, and how much you're going to have to pay monthly, which usually sounds rather low too, instead of looking at the overall cost of what you're actually paying. This sounds really good up front, but typically, as we said before, most people don't ever pay off the 90 days, same as cash. They never pay it off in 90 days, and then they end up paying great exorbitant interest rates on this money that they were hoping to get a 0 rate on. So keep that in mind when they throw that one at you. Another one is other TV, radio, and internet. They use repetition to sell their products. And how does repetition work? In advertising, repetition means repeated exposure. So you may see the same commercial over and over and over again. They seem to do that a lot on YouTube. Over time, repeated messages become familiar and accepted as truth. And sometimes this could just be within the same commercial. They repeat the same thing 4 or 5 times so that by the end of the commercial you're remembering it. Companies behind the ads are willing to pay for such repetition because it works. For instance, M&M's, their campaign slogan has been for many years, "It melts in your mouth and not in your hands." And most people would have known what product I was talking about had I just said the slogan, because they have repeated that slogan so many times in our culture. When it comes to marketing, they also use product positioning. They want to make sure that product is put in just the right place. When you walk into a bookstore, the best books in the store are not the ones that are out front as you walk in. Those people have paid for those books to be there in those places. And the same thing goes in your grocery stores. Companies pay more to have their product put on certain shelves, and they pay less if they're on a different shelf. For instance, it costs less to have something in a grocery store put on the bottom shelf than it does to have it put at eye level where you're going to always see it. So keep that in different things. So there's some other types of product positioning that they do, and one of those is brand recognition. When marketing causes you to position on your product in your mind will be associated with a certain value. So in other words, Ford trucks may be like, we are a valuable car because, we're more reliable or something like that. They want you to believe that, so you'll come buy a Ford truck versus a Chevrolet. Color matters when you're doing product positioning. Color has an impact on the consumer and a reaction to a product. That's why, especially like outdoor signs and stuff like for real estate, Century 21 has probably the ugliest yellow you'll ever see, but you'll stop when you see a Century 21 sign because it makes you stop to look and go, whoa. Self-positioning. Companies pay for prime self-position in stores. It's all about that self-positioning. It's meant to influence and impulse buying. So they want you to see their product so you'll want to buy it and you don't even think about it. You just buy it and go. The design of the packaging, the look, the feel, the packaging are meant to have an impact on you. If something looks old, like it was outdated, we have a tendency not to buy it, whereas if it looks newer, then we have a tendency to get that product faster. There's no reason to be paranoid, but marketers are very sophisticated, and so we should at least be aware of what's going on around us. And that's what all of this is about, is to help you be aware of what is going on around you so you can make more informed and better decisions and not just fall for all their tricks in marketing. So one of the first assignments for you to do is to go to Google Classroom Chapter 6 Materials and do the cost of cool. There's an article there I want you to read called How Advertisers Market to Teenagers. It's very interesting how they advertise to teens, and think about that. If they can get you to start buying stuff now that's theirs, then you're going to continue to do that. Also answer the questions in the Google Classroom, Google form there, which is very just some opinions. I just really want to know, like, what do you think is cool? What makes something cool? Those kinds of things. And just give me your honest answer. I look forward to seeing what they are. Next activity I want you to do is called Commercial Viewer. Here are four different commercials you have to choose from. They're all I think they're all Super Bowl commercials that I found. And just pick two out of the four, and there's a little page on there that you can either copy down on your own paper, or you can, if you have your notebooks, put it on page 84. If you don't have a printer, you can just write it directly in your notebook. If you do have a printer, print it out and paste it on there, whichever works for you. Um, and but I want you to go through and answer the different questions about the commercial. I want you to really begin to see what these commercials are doing to try to get your attention to buy their. So moving on to buyer's remorse. This comes to big purchases. The right way to do it is to save up and pay cash. Then you don't have that. A significant purchase is thought of as anything $300 or over. Buyer's remorse is when you wake up the next day and regret your purchase. Immaturity. We all have that spoiled grocery store kid living inside of us. His name is immaturity. In other words, it's when you've seen those little kids in the grocery stores pitch these fits because they want some Oreos and Mama doesn't want to buy them for them. We kind of all have that inside of us to a point. You go to Best Buy and you see that latest new Mac computer that you've been dying to have, and you start, inside of you, you're like, I've got to have this computer. I want this computer, and you're acting like a little kid that's spoiled. And then if you end up going for it and you have to take out, like you use their financing or whatever to get it, that's cause from immaturity. But when it comes to spending, adults devise a plan and follow it. That's what mature people do, and that's what we want to try to train you to do, so that when you get to be Miss House's age, you don't make these kinds of mistakes. And many people who are my age make these kinds of mistakes all the time. When it comes to big purchases, the right way to do it is to save up, of course, and just pay cash. But even then, if you're saving up, you know that your emergency fund is funded. Everything else is taken care of. And most of the time these bigger purchases are wants, they're not needs. Sometimes they're needs, it depends on what the situation is. But most of the time they're wants. And so sometimes you might need to make sure everything else is taken care of in your family and in your life before you do this. Also, when you get married, it's important that you make a rule with your significant other that anything over a certain amount you will discuss with them first before going out and spending your money. That's just to show respect for them, and you can both discuss it. And it's always good for significant purchases to have somebody that you can talk to. So if you stay single for a long time after you get out of high school, then I would find some good friend that wouldn't mind looking at you and saying, no, you don't need that. You need to do something else. And so if that's the case, then you want to have that person that can help you. But you want to have somebody that you can kind of ask about significant purchases so you don't have that buyer's remorse later. So the next activity I want you to do is called the Impact of Daily Decisions. And you can print this worksheet off. You can draw it on your own paper if you'd like. It will eventually go into your notebook. You can see what page from the table of contents. But what I want you to do is, for instance, so a gourmet cup of coffee is $6 a day. And if you do that 5 days a week, it's $120 a month. And then I want you to take the monthly cost and put it into that investing calculator and see how much money that would be over 30 years and over 50 years. Okay? And then do the same thing for vending machine and then eating out. And of course, eating out is just for one person. We're saying it's $10. If it was more than one person, then it would be more than that, of course. And then figure out how much the monthly cost. And then come up with some other kind of expense that you would use and figure out the cost in the month, and then take that monthly part and figure out what you're giving up if you were to have invested. So opportunity cost. Regardless of how much money you make, if you have a spending plan and power over purchase, you can win with money. This is basically anything that you have to give up in order to do that particular thing or buy that particular thing. In other words, if you want to be on the basketball team, your opportunity cost is going to be to give up your afternoons to go practice with the team. So everything has a cost and everything has a trade-off. Some things are greater than others. and we just have to decide which we're more willing to do. So today we're going to be talking about developing power over purchase. So regardless of how much money you make, if you have a spending plan or power over purchase, you can win with money because it's always easy to spend more than you make. You must develop power over purchase. It doesn't matter how much money you make. If you have a spending plan and power over that purchase, you can win with money. Having the power over the purchase involves following steps. So first off, you should wait overnight before making a purchase. Take the time to consider whether it was a need or a want and make sure you have budgeted for it. Consider your buying motives. No amount of stuff equals contentment or fulfillment. People can sometimes get happiness and fun confused. You can buy fun, but you can't buy happiness. Happiness is where you are right now. Claim it for yourself. And when they're talking about buying fun, they're talking about like, if we were to go take a trip to Disney World, that would be fun, but it's not necessarily going to buy you happiness. So never buy anything you do not understand, particularly financial products like insurance or investments. We will be talking about insurance and investments, so hopefully you will understand them a little bit better when we're done, but we're not there yet. Consider the opportunity cost of your money, which means that money spent here cannot be spent there. Whenever you make a choice, you must pass up other opportunities. Take your time and make the right decision. You should always seek wise counsel. Young adults who are not married should find an accountability partner, someone with whom you can discuss big purchases. Once you are married, you should seek the counsel of your spouse and make those good decisions together. So that ends our discussion of Chapter 6. I hope you can get all of these assignments done and you'll enjoy them as we go through, and I'll let you know when it's time to take your test on Chapter 6, but for right now, this is just to help those of you who want to get ahead and who want to be ahead when we return to school. So, hope all is well. Talk to you when we get to Chapter 7. Oh, I forgot. Sorry. One last assignment. Opportunity costs. Take the list that I've given you on the Google Classroom page that's called Opportunity Costs, and you put all your opportunity costs on one side and then get somebody, it could be a family member, anybody in your house, and have them list what their opportunity costs would be and compare them and see what the difference would be. So now I will talk to you when we get to Chapter 7.